All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Hope everybody taking care of themselves. Took a little bit of a break. I'll get into that towards the end, but let's go ahead and talk about the big news of the day. Tyreek Hill getting traded by the Chiefs to the Dolphins. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that. Chiefs were my pick to win the Super Bowl again this year. I mean, the off season hasn't finished, but I think that they're the most reliable team, um, just given their pedigree of all the teams that I've seen being assembled this offseason. And then they trade away, to me, the most dynamic weapon, the best receiver in football, to the Dolphins in exchange for a 1 and a 2. And the Dolphins immediately handed him the largest contract for a receiver in NFL history, $30 million a year, average value for 4 years. On the Chiefs side, I guess this was simple roster construction, and they just couldn't afford to pay a receiver $30 million. There's been rumors that the cap is going to jump up by the next CBA. So I don't really understand why you would give up a weapon like Tyreek Hill. I remember when Tyreek Hill, there was a chance that he would get suspended. There was a allegation of abuse of his child. I think that was what happened. And they drafted McCole Harmon that offseason, and that situation ended up playing out, and he didn't face any charges. And the little that I've seen of McCole Harmon as a replacement, I don't think that he can do it. He just seems like a guy that is fast, but he doesn't really seem like a reliable receiver. Tyreek Hill is fast, but his not only is he fast, he's quick, he's shifty. He's someone that dictates coverage. You have to put two safeties up on top of them. A lot of teams have been frustrating the Chiefs and stopping their big play offense by staying so disciplined in that two safety high look and making them nickel and dime their way up the field, feeling that Mahomes will lose patience. And then sometimes he gets so frenetic that maybe he'll give you an interception. So maybe their calculus is like, hey, we have 2 first-round picks now. The last 2 years, you've had game-changing receivers in the form of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson enter the league as rookies. So maybe we can hit on one of those. And there's a whole host of receivers. I don't really do the draft breakdowns, but from what I've watched, I've liked Garrett Wilson. And there's a kid Pickens that plays on Georgia who I think is going to be a stud. So maybe they're thinking, hey, we can get multiple receivers. We added Juju in. We still have McCole Harmon. That's a deep threat. If we can add another receiver who's a good receiver on the boundary as well, maybe that makes more sense. Roster construction and then use the money on defense. A thought that came to my mind was, hey, I don't know why Gilmore and Matthew have not signed yet. Maybe they were, their agents were made aware of this trade coming down the pipeline, and thought, hey, let's wait. They get the money off the books and then they sign both of them. Because if they sign both of them to bolster the defense, then you're looking at it like, okay, it makes sense. They have that 3 safety look that they can play. You take out the guy that was BBQ Chicken. What's his name? I forget his name, but they play Sorensen. They take out Sorensen out the equation, right? You have Thornhill, Tyrann Mathieu, and Justin Reed, who they signed. You have a elite corner on one side, and you can move the other corner who's more of a number 2, in my opinion, especially what Chase did to him in that game where they lost the number 1 seed. You move him to the other side of the boundary, and then you have a really good defense. You just have to really work on the edges. They were able to keep Frank Clark, who had a renaissance season. So I don't think Ingram's under contract, and I haven't heard of him resigning. But, you bring in another defensive end, maybe use one of those picks on the defensive end, and you have a more balanced team than just a team that just so, skewed on offense and we can't really defend, or we can't consistently get stops. So maybe that's the way they're looking at it. On Miami's point of view, they spent a lot of money upgrading their weapons this year, and they're really going for it. They got the receiver from the Cowboys, which I thought was a sneaky pick, Wilson. Mostert, Chase Edmonds. They just signed the tackle Armstead, Brian Connor Williams, who gets penalized a lot, but it's definitely an upgrade from what they had. And now they're bringing in Tyreek Hill. My question to me is like, okay, you're doing all this. I mean, we've seen what Tua is. Maybe they can say, hey, he's going to have better offensive line, and the table is going to be set for him in such a way where all he has to do is hit open guys. That this is a really highly schemed offense. So maybe that's one way you can look at it. Another way that I would look at it is, why not bring in Baker now? Like, if you're really going for it, from what we've seen of Tua, especially his health-wise, constantly getting injured, smaller quarterback, can't really drive the ball. If you're really making this investment, why not bring in Baker? And you don't have to hand Baker the job. You can say, hey, you guys compete. May the best man win. But, another thing that this brought in my mind, and I'm going to do a video on this, what happens to Bill Belichick's legacy if he never wins another playoff game? The AFC is getting so stacked right now that, 16 teams in the division, they have what, the 12th, 13th best quarterback, maybe. This is a team that does not really spend high on free agents. Their defense was above average, not dominant. Their wide receiver core is average at best. What happens if they never win another playoff game? That's what it's shaping, with the Bills being who the Bills are, and now the Dolphins going all in. They look at best, and what if that Wilson kid turns on? They look like at best the third place team in this division now. But for the Dolphins, obviously they're going in on it a lot. I know a lot of people said, well, this might be a bad contract. As he ages, with the way that technology is, you can see what LeBron's doing in the NBA. If you really put the time and care into your body, 32 is not old. 32 isn't the new 22, but it's not what it was before. I think he could still play at a high level. He can play that Deebo Samuel, do everything role where we give you, carries out of the backfield, we're lining you up in different positions. This offense is stacked. This is a stacked offense. The defense was really good last year. They kept their defensive coordinator. Now, how much of their scheme was him and how much it was Brian Flores, who was the defense coordinator for the Patriots, and that's where he cut his teeth on defense. So was this just a nominal defensive coordinator position, or did this guy really have input on them being such a great defense last year? Only time will tell. So yeah, I actually like this trade for both teams, depending on what the Chiefs do at receiver, and depending on what the Chiefs do with this money. Do they invest it on defense and bring Matthew and or Gilly and really focus in on having a more balanced team instead of just being so top heavy? Other news. In the NFL, Baker Mayfield still does not have a landing spot yet. I think that this is a ripe opportunity for Seattle, but those musical chairs, the quarterback carousel that I predicted hasn't really played out. I thought Kirk Cousins was going to be a part of it. I thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be a part of it, but it seems like, options have such improved. Tom Brady wasn't thought to be an option when I did this. Matt Ryan wasn't thought to be an option when I did this. Russell Wilson wasn't really thought to be an option. So you've had guys that weren't on the board before, now on the board now. I thought Deshaun Watson was going to go into the NFC, not the AFC. So now you have guys like Jimmy G and Baker who have been solid starters. Jimmy G going to the Super Bowl, and Baker, being a solid starter. Who are on the market, who look like they might be without a chair. The Seahawks look like the last chair, and it looks like they're leaning Baker. I think that would be a good addition to them. They have two good weapons in Lockett and Metcalf. They were able to replenish their pick cupboard with this trade with Denver. So I think they can improve their team on the edges. Looks like they lost. Are going to lose, Dwayne Brown. It looks like he's going to sign with the Panthers, but I think they can rebuild their team on the edges and then try to go forward from there. So If I'm Seattle, I bring in Baker Mayfield, see what he has. 19 million. It sounds like it's going to be a low pick. There was a team that asked to trade for Baker, but asked the Browns to give them a pick to take the salary. So if I'm the Seahawks, I'm looking at Baker. If I'm the Steelers, I'm looking at Baker. Um, yeah, I'm giving them a shot. I don't know how willing the Browns would be to trade Baker in the division, but I mean, you have your quarterback in Deshaun Watson, so I don't see why you wouldn't. So that's another interesting story and storyline to look at. And then, like I said previously, I don't understand what's taking Matthew and Gilly so long. These are two prime free agents, and generally decisions are made by now by guys of their caliber. I just don't, it doesn't really make sense that it would take this long for them to make a decision on it. Uh, it looks like Herbstreit and Al Michaels going to call the games on Amazon Prime. I don't know why all of a sudden uh, announcers are making this much money, but this is where we're at. I'm not going to hate it. It doesn't really make sense to me all of a sudden because Romo came into the game. He completely shifted the paradigm, but that's where we're at. Jameis Winston re-signs with the Saints, and then the Falcons signed Marcus Mariota. So it looks like that division is up for Tom Brady's to win. I think the Buccaneers have one of the clearest guide paths that I've ever seen to the Super Bowl. I just don't think any team in NFC is close to their caliber. And you might say, hey, the Rams are going to bring back the majority of their team, but I think they almost beat the Rams last year, and they were just a shell of themselves physically. So I think, they had the season from hell in regards to injuries. I think if they're healthy, I think they're the clear better team, especially with Odell tearing his ACL and not being ready. Now you may say, hey, they have Allen Robinson. I don't think he's the receiver that Odell is. But I think that they're clear dominant team in the NFC. So I just haven't seen a glide path, which makes sense that Tom Brady would come back. There's been some speculation that he still might get traded to the Niners. I don't think they sign all these players and then allow him to get traded to the Niners. That just doesn't really make sense to me. So the Niners, I'm guessing they're just going to run it back with Jimmy G. Run it back, let Jimmy G and Trey Lance compete in training camp. If a guy goes down in training camp, then Jimmy G is going to be there, which makes more sense to me because I never saw him as one of these quarterbacks that anyone should be trading for. I mean, Shanahan literally feeds you like a mother bird feeding a baby bird with open throws, and Jimmy G misses them half the time. Like, you go back and watch the tape on the Rams Niners NFC Championship game. There was throws to be made that he continuously did not see or did not make. So why are you rushing to trade the guy? There's no guy. There's no more of a skilled coordinator of offense in this league than Kyle Shanahan. And if a guy hasn't truly found success with him, then why are you rushing to go trade for that guy? It doesn't, like 1 + 1 = 2 still. So okay, so I'm gonna definitely leave it at there. Like I said earlier, I took a little break because I was thinking about how I want to format this channel, which is probably a mistake. I think you should, everything I've read, you should keep putting out the content regardless. But because I wanted to, add a pop culture. Not what I'm talking about everything that's going in the culture, but like television. Sprinkle that in a little bit. And I was thinking about doing a different channel, all that, but I'm just putting everything here, and then you pick what you want. So, and starting tomorrow, I'm probably going to fuse the NBA and the NFL streams of consciousness and talk about a little college as well. I think those are three, college football, not college basketball. That shit is terrible. Those are the three major sports, and just talk about them all in one place. And once again, you know, everybody can pick what they want. So, all right. Thank you for rocking with me. The game is the game. All right, that's it for this clip. Subscribe, leave a comment, respond to all the comments. The game is the game.